Sampola and warmest greetings to all. I am Finsawangmo, Registrar of the Jigme School of Law in Bhutan. A very sincere welcome to JSW Law, as we like to call it. I would like to convey the Dean's regrets. He was very sorry to be unable to participate today. A very big thank you to all the friends from near and far who have joined us virtually for this webinar, the second in our sustainability series. We begin with a very exciting announcement. This is the first event that we are hosting from our beautiful new and permanent campus located in Pambasaparo. As many of you know, we are the first and only law school in the Kingdom of Bhutan. Our mission is critical: to prepare exceptional Bhutanese students to become future leaders of our country. All students receive full scholarships and participate in legal clinics providing services to the local community. Our innovative curriculum focuses on legal education in support of Buddhist principles. This includes gender equality, sustainable development, environmental protection, and democratic institutions. In November of last year, we gathered virtually to launch the JSW Law Sustainability Fund. This is a special effort to strengthen our operations as we set up the new campus, launch new programs for students and faculty, and develop exciting initiatives such as climate change, law, and policy project. Last December, we had our first webinar on social enterprise, exploring JSW's clinic and work. It was moderated by noted social entrepreneur, Victoria Engelhorn-Nell. Today, we are thrilled to explore another very innovative part of JSW's curriculum, our Human Dignity Clinic. You will hear more from our clinic director, Jamal Ham, as well as some of her talented students. We are very fortunate to have as our welcoming host and special guest today, Ms. Azusa Kubota, resident representative for UNDP Bhutan. Since March of 2019, Ms. Kubota has guided the work of the Bhutan Country Office to transform UNDP into a more nimble, innovative thought leader, more effective and efficient at delivering results, and a trusted partner for countries in reaching the Sustainable Development Goals. She has previously served in key leadership roles for the UNDP in the Solomon Islands, Laos, and the Maldives. Ms. Kubota has also worked for the UNDP in South Africa, Malawi, and New York, helping to support such essential components of effective development strategies as public policy, poverty reduction, and capacity building. Prior to her positions with UNDP, she worked for NGOs in Senegal, Lesotho, and Washington, D.C. Ms. Kubota is originally from Japan and holds a master's degree from the School of International and Public Affairs at Columbia University and a bachelor's degree from Smith College. We are so grateful to have Ms. Kubota with us today as we explore the fundamentals of human dignity work and delve into the efforts of JSW Law to put into place both the laws and the processes to better protect the most vulnerable in our society, including women, children, and the elderly. Ms. Kubota, we appreciate your work and your vision, as well as the tremendous efforts of the UNDP to eradicate poverty and reduce inequality in our world. We are eager to hear from you, and thank you so much for serving as our special welcoming host and special guest today. Over to you, Azusa.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the JSW Law School for this invitation, and I'd like to convey my sincere welcome to all the participants online. So as mentioned already, I've been serving Bhutan for the last 3 years, and I have been fortunate to work with incredible national institutions, including the law school, through its Human Dignity Clinic in promoting efforts towards the Sustainable Development Goals. I would like to sincerely commend the law school for spearheading the Human Dignity Clinic. As we all know, the law plays a significant role in advancing human dignity and sustainable development, and exposing young law students to broad social and economic justice and development issues while they are still exploring their career choice would allow them to discover why they are studying the law and how they can contribute to the betterment of the society So I think it's a wonderful platform to nurture future lawyers with purpose. The SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, as you know, are comprised of 17 goals to be achieved by 2030. The SDGs expressly recognize the dignity of the human person is fundamental and envisage a world of universal respect for human rights and human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination, of respect for race, ethnicity, and cultural diversity, and of equal opportunity, permitting the full realization of human potential and contributing to shared prosperity, unquote. So human dignity is a foundation of the 1945 Charter of the UN. And this principle, this spirit, continues through the SDGs. Any development gains achieved will not be sustainable if they are not enjoyed equally and inclusively by all members of the society. We must therefore ensure nobody is left behind as people's choices are expanded. And the law must be therefore designed and applied in full to reflect this principle. In fact, as you know, many of international agreements and accords already do that, but oftentimes their implementation remains weak. As the UN's development program, UNDP in Bhutan work on several SDGs since they are all interconnected. Human dignity, ensuring equity in terms of access to opportunity for all is a center pillar of everything we do. Specifically related to today's topic, we firmly believe that access to justice must be universal and equal. However, as is the case in many countries, those with vulnerabilities face challenges. For instance, a system of providing legal aid is not yet in place in Bhutan, although our constitution obliges the state to provide legal aid to the poor and disadvantaged. Oftentimes, places of service providers, such as courts, are not built disability-friendly. Legal information is not available for those with different language requirements and literacy levels. So I'm very pleased that Bhutan is about to fulfill this constitutional obligation for legal aid by designing the operational guidelines. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the growing need for legal aid, particularly for the increasing number of victims of domestic violence. We in UNDP are humbled to be a small partner in this endeavor, and would like to acknowledge our fruitful partnership with the law school in this regard. Around the world, the pandemic has exposed existing disparities in our societies. For the first time in record, human development has regressed. As the world tries to recover from the pandemic towards a more sustainable and inclusive future, the voices of the most vulnerable and the marginalized must be heard in decision-making. So it is my sincere hope that many of the soon-to-be lawyers will make tangible contributions to those in the greatest need through their legal duty and service. I believe the law school's human-centered approach to learning reflects Bhutan's firm commitment to equity, sustainable development, and gross national happiness. I very much look forward to learning and interacting with the esteemed panel members tonight. Thank you so much. Tashidele.
Good evening, and Kuzambo, Ms. Azusa, and all the participants. My name is Tunne Tobge, and I work for CSO Najul Lamtin and as an executive director. And Najul Lamtin is an CSO, especially working for children in conflict with the law and the children in difficult circumstances. Thank you.
Kusuzampo, everybody. My name is Kinel Hadin Gelson. I am a final year student at Jsw School of Law, and I am here because I am a student member of the Human Dignity Clinic.
Kuzambola. My name is Prabhu Anchuk. I am a volunteer at Disabled People's Organization of Bhutan. TPO mainly helps the person with disabilities in our country. Thank you.
Kuzu Zampola, I am Ishingirup, and I'm also a final year student at the Jsw School of Law, and I am also a member of the Human Dignity Clinic.
Hello, I'm Kuzu Zampola. Before I begin my introduction, I would like to join our moderator, UNDP RR Azusa, and our registrar in welcoming everyone to tonight's event. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Jamal Ham. I'm a faculty here at JSW School of Law. I teach penal law and restorative justice and also run the Human Dignity Clinic as its director. Before joining the law school, I was working as a legislative officer at the National Assembly Secretariat and also served as a committee secretary to two important parliamentary committees, the Legislative Committee and the Human Rights Committee. And it was during that time, during my time at National Assembly, that I had the opportunity to work with the honorable members of parliaments and travel around the country on various public consultation meetings. And access to justice, the need for legal aid, and the lack of awareness of laws were some of the issues that were raised by the public attending the meeting. And as a lawyer, this stood out and has become very close to my heart. And when I was asked to join, when I was asked to run the Human Dignity Clinic, when I was asked if I was interested, I immediately said yes, because I felt that Human Dignity Clinic in a small way can resolve the issues around these areas. Work in a small way, resolve the legal issues that were raised by the public during those meetings. And I'm glad that we are doing exactly that today. The Human Dignity Clinic is only a year old. However, we've been very fortunate with clients who are here today, some of them on various projects. And at this point, I would like to present a short video showcasing human dignity, the work that we have been doing in the last 1 year, and also the experiences of the students of the Human Dignity Clinic.
The Human Dignity Clinic is one of the 3 clinics at the JSW School of Law. The Human Dignity Clinic is dedicated to a vision that protection, promotion, and respect of human dignity must lie at the heart of the legal practice, and most certainly at the legal practice in a GNH society. The primary focus of the Human Dignity Clinic will be on the 4 categories of our vulnerable population here in Bhutan, specifically women, children and young people, persons with disability, and the elderlies. And this involves providing our clients with legal advice, legal assistance, and in some cases, faculty supervisors and students work with our clients, partnered with CSOs, NGOs, and government entities and institutions to shed light on systemic problems leading to increased vulnerability and promote corresponding legal or policy remedies. In all cases, as you can see, student and faculty work to rehabilitate and reaffirm the human dignity of their clients and cultivate healthier, happier, and more cohesive communities consistent with Bhutan's guiding vision of cross-national happiness.
After a series of stakeholder meetings and interviews with the PWDs, we have found out that persons with disabilities face some kind of difficulties in accessing justice, and lack of legal information is one of the barriers they face in accessing justice. So in that regard, we have come up with a toolkit in collaboration with the Cross-National Happiness Commission, wherein we try to make legal information pertaining to access to justice accessible to them.
First of all, I think I'm one of the luckiest
being a person with disability, I got this chance to attend these workshops and all these procedures to draft this advocacy material. And the impression that I get from here is, I think it's the first step towards legal aid, towards availing legal aid, because that advocacy material contains a lot more than just procedures and how to go about to avail this legal aid. As in, if you are a person with blindness, the legal aid material contains that braille system, and if you are a person with deafness, the material will be converted into audiovisual, whereby there will be included sign language and all. So now that this guideline is in place, I think it's really helpful.
The main objective of coming up with the legal aid guideline was to provide a clarity on how to provide legal aid to vulnerable women in Bhutan. Our constitution do provide the right to citizens to have their fundamental right to be consulted and represented by a Bhutanese Japmi of his or her choice, but it do not sort of lay down a guideline to how to go about with the legal aid guideline. There isn't a separate agency pointed out by the government that this agency is going to provide legal aid to the vulnerable people in Bhutan. So with that idea and with that objective that maybe because of this guideline we'll be able to clarify on how to provide legal aid to vulnerable in Bhutan, the Human Dignity Clinic was also involved in drafting the legal aid guideline with the technical team, which consisted of the representatives from the Office of Attorney General, the representative from the National Commission for Women and Children, RENEW and UNDP Law.
Basically, the Diversion program handbook that we worked on is particularly for the Najin Lamton office. So the Najin Lamton is a CSO which works for children, and they deal with CICL, Children in Conflict with the Law, in providing diversion programs for them. So this handbook is going to serve as a guide for them while implementing the diversion programs.
We thought of developing one common diversion handbook that will guide us that how we provide support to children who are diverted to Najin Lamtin. So in order to develop this, we lack legal expertise, first of all, and JSW being the renowned college in Bhutan, we especially deal with the legality. So this is how we approach JSW Human Dignity Clinic to come up with any diversion guideline book. This is how we have been working with JSW for, I think, more than 2 years. Not all the children who are diverted to us need support. Most of them need community service because they have to be in touch with the reality. So they have to be in the community doing social work, volunteer work. So in our country, we lack such a community service provider. Despite we have many CSOs and other volunteer groups, but we don't have a link with where we can just send them and give them a volunteer service by that particular agency. So JSW was proposing that if we do a community mapping.
Following the diversion program handbook for children in conflict with law, we also did a community service mapping. There are 5 piloted districts. We are yet to do it in 4 piloted districts. So HTC team will be continuing that in the next semester. But however, we have done it in Thimphu and included a list in the diversion handbook. When we really deal with our client as a person and as a student, and not as a person who is in a very high post, we get to learn a lot from the personal experiences. It helps us develop ourselves into a better person and into a better service provider.
Although joining Human Dignity Clinic has honed my skills starting from drafting to stakeholder consultation, one of the most important realizations that I've had is the necessity of outlook from different perspectives, especially those who have vulnerabilities. There may be processes that potentially impact them and the result definitely, so the responsibility to include them is imperative. And interacting with them, learning from them has enabled me to grow as a person and a professional set to work out in the legal fraternity.
Being a part of the Human Dignity Clinic, I think
the most important lesson I'll take away with me throughout my professional and personal life is the idea of human dignity itself. I think not just in my professional life where I will have to make important decisions, even in my personal life, as I move on, in any kind of decisions I'll have to take, I think I'll always keep in mind to be very holistic, very receptive, make sure that all of my decisions are very inclusive, and be absolutely sure that human dignity is always the basis of all my decisions.
Thank you so much for the excellent video. So following that video, now I have the pleasure to move on to the first panel discussion featuring Ms. Dema, the director of the Human Dignity Clinic, and two promising young students of the clinic. So if I may start with the first question addressed to Ms. Dema. You have already shared your story, how you were drawn to the social economic justice issues and how you have come about teaching the clinic. Can you explain the approach that the JSW law takes to human dignity and why you think it's important to train lawyers in this field? Over to you.
Thank you, Azusa. Human dignity, as we all know, recognizes the equal and inalienable worth of every human family member. In every aspect of life, every individual merits decent and equal treatment because we possess human dignity. And as you had mentioned earlier, human dignity is now recognized by the international conventions, human rights instruments, and also there in the Sustainable Development Goals. And likewise, human dignity is also there in many constitutions all over the world. And in 2018, Bhutan became one of those countries. So as we all know, Article 9.3 of our constitution mandates state to sort of protect human dignity of every Bhutanese citizens. And this concept of human dignity actually is something that is not new to every Bhutanese. From a very young age, our parents and teachers have always talked about the sense of dignity, self-worth, and the worth of others, and have been teaching us about how we should be honoring the dignity of ourselves and others and what we should expect from the others. And if you look at it from the Buddhist perspective, as mentioned by the registrar earlier in her opening remarks, we have the option of choosing the good from the bad in the most difficult circumstances. And through such choices, I think we can fulfill our unique purpose and mission in life. And I think in this way, give the fullest expression to the inherent treasure of our human dignity. And also, as you mentioned earlier, it is very in line with the guiding principle of the gross national happiness principle. So at the JSW School of Law, keeping these in mind, we teach and train our students the moral values. And also, we want to make sure that the law protects the human dignity of every individual and expand the right to live with dignity. And how we do that is by educating and teaching and training our students, and of course, advocacy and awareness raising in the community, both within and outside of the law school. And just as an information, here at the law school, we have a compulsory course on human dignity for the first year students. And also through the clinics, students advise the individuals and communities on the right to human dignity. And also whenever we see a violation of human dignity in some communities, the students advise and also give informal strategies to resolve these legal issues and grievances. Not only that, our students are also involved in large-scale documentation and policy projects, which is designed to illustrate systemic threat to human dignity here in Bhutan, and they work directly with the concerned stakeholders to develop an innovative, creative, and evidence-based solution to these issues. And again, just as an information here, very recently, we have sort of formed a task force here at the law school to work on access to justice for persons with disabilities with support from Gross National Happiness Commission. And there, what we are doing is through research and studies, trying to understand the barriers that persons with disabilities face in accessing justice, and then eventually developing a module where our students, once they graduate from Jsw School of Law, know and are better informed about the issues of legal access to justice surrounding the vulnerable populations here in Bhutan. So all these are done to sort of advance the well-being and basic human dignity of our clients, and also to sort of help people work towards a society with a sense of equity, equality, and sense of and access to justice. And so therefore at the law school, the students and the faculty grapple to tackle the practical challenges, especially the opportunities of using the law to protect and promote the human dignity of every individual. And to answer your second question, why train our students in this field? As you know, Azusa, awareness of these issues and education is powerful. The students who are trained in the Human Dignity Clinic, and for that matter, all the other clinics, develop skills a young lawyers need, listening and hearing what the clients need, and also developing a project, seeing and it come to fruition. You know, these types of experiences build confidence a young lawyer need, and make them more practice ready once they graduate out of the law school. Over to you, Azusa. Thank you, La.
Thank you so much. What's remarkable is that not only teaching the concept during the year one to set a foundation, but also you focus on application in school. That's really wonderful. Now let's move on to Kunle, who happens to be also our intern in a program. It's such a pleasure to have her. Can you explain, can you share with us what made you join the clinic? And can you share some of the takeaways from the Dignity Clinic, which you think you can use in your future legal career? Over to you.
Thank you, Asuza. So I joined the Human Dignity Clinic because, as we have all heard, I see the human worth and dignity as an implicating factor in every aspect of our human life. Throughout law school, we see this foundational value across every legal doctrine and legislation. However, the ground reality in ensuring the protection and promotion of this very dignity is easier said than done. And as the Human Dignity Clinic shared by the clinic director provides legal services to the most vulnerable groups, I personally saw it as an opportunity to explore the systemic problems that may inadvertently lead to increased vulnerabilities. So ultimately, I wanted to play a very small part, it may be, in shaping the law's commitment as a law student and a person who is set to work out in the legal fraternity, to shape this commitment in protecting and promoting this very inalienable and inherent dignity for every person everywhere. And to share one of the key takeaways from many that I have, I'd like to reiterate what Atticus Finch said in To Kill a Mockingbird. So you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. So until you climb into his skin and walk around in it, understanding and grasping the true reality is very difficult. Likewise, with the vulnerable groups, if we do not consider things from their perspective, it will be very difficult for us as legal people, as people working to ensure access to justice. It will be difficult for us to help understand and solve the issues that they face in their everyday life. So out of many key takeaways, the one that I would like to share is the importance and the need for us to look at things through different perspectives and be inclusive, that I think will definitely help me and my friends grow personally and professionally, who are set to work out in legal career. Thank you, Asuza. Over to you.
Thank you. From your voice, we can feel your passion and dedication. And this is design thinking in action. And it's very obvious that this clinic has had profound influence on you. So speaking of influence, let me now move to Yeshi. How do you think the clinic will or have influenced your legal career? Over to you.
Lasla, thank you. First of all, I'd like to read out a quote by the infamous anarchist and socialist Mikhail Bakunin. He writes, "Freedom, morality, and the human dignity of the individual consists precisely of this, that he does good not because he is forced to do so, but because he freely conceives it, wants it, and loves it." To talk about the influence, I'm already influenced, I would like to say. For example, at the moment, I'm interning at the State Prosecutor's Office, at the Office of the Attorney General. And I often find myself in a very morally conflicting situation. And I say morally conflicting because sometimes when I have to work with a case where I have to apply a law which I do not necessarily agree with, and when I say not necessarily agree with, I mean when I see that the law should be more rehabilitative rather than punitive. When I see that the defendant requires rehabilitation more than incarceration to make a change in the society, I find myself very, very conflicted. And this is the influence the Human Dignity Clinic has had on me. And as I mentioned in the video, even in the future, I'm very confident to say this. I think it is very safe to say, as mentioned by our clinic director, Madam Dema, that the Human Dignity Clinic and this fundamental concept of human dignity is always going to be at the heart of my legal practice and also at the heart of my personal life. Thank you. Over to you.
No, thank you. You have put it so beautifully, Bhutan's inclination towards restorative justice, and rehabilitation. That's very much a reflection of Bhutan's commitment towards gross national happiness, and also reflects Bhutanese people's compassion. Thank you so much for putting that in a very beautiful manner. So now let me move on to the second phase of the discussion with two of the clients. The first speaker would be Tinley. Tinley, would you share some of the major problems that your community, the community you represent, face in accessing justice, particularly prior to your involvement with the clinic? And also, if you have a chance, would you share if the work of the clinic helped your work to support vulnerable people in society? And if so, can you explain how, concretely how? Over to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Aziza. Diversion is a mean of alternative sentencing. We have been receiving a lot of diversion cases from NCWC, OEG, and Royal Bhutan Police. But having received so many cases, we don't have a proper monitoring and kind of a guideline in place to how to go about, how to keep track on those children who are diverted to us, how to meet their different need, and different cases has a different need. So that was a huge challenge, challenges for us. And Najul Lamton and CSO working with the children in conflict with law with no legal expertise was one of the another challenges that we are facing. And as of now, we are the only CSO working with the children who are in conflict with the law. And we also have been providing aftercare services after their release from juvenile facilities. So fortunately, we had a connection with the Jsw Law School, and we came up with a project that will have an SOP and guidelines in a place where if the client has been sent to us in a diversion program, how we should be providing service, like only the diversion program that we have been receiving earlier, we just provide them with the basic vocational training, admitting to school and institution, and that's it. That's all we can do. But the actual they need is community service. They have to be in touch with the community. They have to learn how the things are going on, and that should transform their thinking attitude in a whole program. So we actually wanted this to develop. So we are actually looking for some legal expertise, and we even consulted with a legal consultant that we want to develop such a diversion guideline. So this is how, as I had mentioned earlier, that we had in connection with the JSW, and we discussed on the diversion program, and the SDC clinic student were very brilliant on this. They took these talks as their own. We can see their zeal, their interest, their commitment, and they have put on everything to this program, and they come up with a beautiful diversion guideline, and now it is in place, and we have signed a few MOU with the relevant stakeholders like our CSO partners, community volunteers, and some of the key agencies that we have to work in terms of providing diversion program. So we are hoping that this diversion program is been developed in consultation with all the relevant agency and the community, and this diversion program will have a huge impact on our children, especially children in conflict with law, if they are sent for diversion. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Obviously, there's also a question in a chat box, which I hope to come back to if I have time. The COVID pandemic has given rise to, or I would say, enhanced the urgency to addressing these challenges you've had because of the stressful situation that a lot of children and the families are under. Now, let me turn to Purpa, who is representing the Disabled People's Organization of Bhutan. Purpa, I know the government has launched a national policy on people with disability, and all the stakeholders have been making efforts to improve access to justice. In your view, what challenges remain for people with disabilities in accessing justice? And do you have any specific recommendations to further improve the situation? And also, can you explain or share any particular experience that someone close to you has experienced in accessing justice in terms of challenges and so forth? Over to you, Purpa.
Yes, thank you, Amazusa, for the question. While we are thankful for the support and the services to be equals in the society as a person with disability, we all know that we still face a lot of challenges in each and every field. Talking about access to justice, I would like to say that the challenges differs from one disability to another disability. But in generally, as far as I'm concerned and as far as I'm aware of, I would like to categorize this in 4 challenges. The first one is the lack of awareness on legal rights, services, and procedures. Most of the, if you look into the data and statistics that we have, we come across that most of the person with disabilities are less educated, and most of the person with disabilities are located in rural pockets of the country. So they don't even have access to basic informations, and they are not aware of legal procedures, what services are available, and what supports they can get from relevant agencies. And moving to point number 2, it's the lack of fund for legal aid services. Again, if we look from economical point of view, we all know that most person with disabilities are falling under indigent person, whereby most of us can't even pay for legal basic legal procedure. So because of the financial shortages and everything, we can't even step forward to ask for legal help. I think that's the second challenges. And the third one is accessibility. When it comes to accessibility, there's 2 types of accessibility: the information accessibility and the physical accessibility. The person with deafness and blindness, they don't even have access to basic informations on the websites and relevant platforms. When it comes to person with physical disabilities like myself, we can't go to courts, but I was happily informed that now that most of the courts are wheelchair accessible, disability friendly, but prior to this it wasn't, and that has spared us from getting help from others. And the fourth and the most important thing is acceptance and social stigmas. most of the persons with disabilities, they aren't even ready to come forward and ask for help, fearing the discrimination and the stigmatization that may follow afterwards. And if I may, I don't know how far I'm in place to give the recommendations, but what I wish things are in place are, if accessibility can be improved in case of both information and physical structures, so that we can reach where others reach and we can read what others can read. And the second one is if the advocacy materials are made disability friendly, like if hard copies are made in braille form, and if the information, the videos can be uploaded in websites and all for a person with deafness. And the third one is if the state or relevant agencies can support the pro bono services for the person with disabilities who can't afford the financial support in legal proceedings. And speaking from my own perspective, and after asking the disabled people's organization, I came to know that most of the persons with disabilities, even if they have problems at homes, be it a civil case or criminal case, they are reluctant to come forward. So we don't have data as in such, but one of the friends, my personal friend, whom I know personally, he's a person with intellectual disability, and he has a story. He was sharing to me that he was once married, but that unluckily didn't work out, and he set out to seek help from private law firms. But instead of legal proceedings and all, he was asked to settle for just 5,000. And he was sadly expressing that he was actually hoping for some legal advices, or at least to mend the broken marriage relationship. But he was instead asked to settle for 5,000 and let the wife go. That's the situation in our country, and I think that's one of the reasons most of the persons with disabilities aren't willing to come forward, because we are either discriminated, or in most of the cases, the person with intellectual disabilities are mistaken to be mentally retarded or manipulative when it comes to cases. Some of the people even go to the extent of saying that, if I'm not mistaken, going to the extent that person with mental disabilities, they often manipulate the cases in hope of sympathy and everything, which in reality is same as any other cases. I think that's my experience, and over to you, Azusa. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very evident that involvement of both of you have enriched the work of the law school. Like Kunle said, unless you put yourself in the shoes of the person, you never understand the real challenges that they face. And I think this beautiful partnership has really enriched the process and an outcome. Since we started a little bit late, I'm mindful that we're short of time. But if the panelists allow, I'd like to spend next 5 minutes just asking one or two questions that have come from the audience. Tinley, can you share a story of a particular person from your network who was helped through this work? Can you give a face to the story?
After developing this diversion guideline, we didn't receive such cases for diversion, and all we received was by NCWC, National Commission for Women and Children, and they just hand over the cases to a school counselor because the case doesn't need a case management plan, so it was not referred to us. So we are ready and prepared in case such clients are being diverted to us. So so far we didn't receive any diversion case where we need to go by these diversion programs. Yes, thank you.
And thank you. And the floor would like to know overall how the COVID pandemic has affected children conflict with law, and also people with disability, and particularly in terms of their access to justice. Maybe start with Tinlin and go to Purple.
Regarding children in conflict with the law, especially children who are residing at the YDRC juvenile facility who are serving their sentences. We could not conduct any programs. Usually we used to conduct 2 to 3 programs in every quarterly, but due to pandemic, we are not able to bring there any programs because of the lockdown and the restriction. But however, we were able to conduct a virtual meetings and trainings, and some programs were also given on an online basis to the, especially who children who are serving centers at YDRC. And children who need legal services, hearings, and all, we establish a digital online communication system wherein by the children can access their legal service through online. This is how we facilitate through digital technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Papa, would you like to come in?
Yes, thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, I am aware that we don't have exact data on what's happened and what's really going on, but I was informed that there were few cases of domestic violence where the women with disabilities were involved. And like I mentioned earlier, even if they were involved in domestic violence case, they don't have any ideas where to go, to whom to ask help from. And the DPO as an organization is not an authorized organization to get involved in legal aids. They also don't have legal personal aid. There is a lack of human resources. So I think the lockdown has led to increase in number of domestic violence, because as we all know that persons with disabilities are often known for having issues in civil cases like marriage cases. So I think that's one of the cases. Over to you, Azusa.
Thank you. Ms. Dewa, and also students, from your perspective, is there a particular story you like to share which has left you impression in terms of the impact of the Human Dignity Clinic work, or anything else you like to share? Over to you.
Thank you, Azusa. I just wanted to sort of comment on what Chile Executive Director of National Lamton and Purba had shared earlier in terms of the kind of work that we are doing and also the challenges that they face. So as you know, we drafted the Diversion Handbook for children coming in conflict with law for National Lamton and the Advocacy Toolkit material for access to justice for persons with disability. And what we at the Human Dignity Clinic did was sort of bring all the relevant stakeholders together at the table to discuss the issues and challenges revolving around around these issues. So in doing so, we had the opportunity to learn and understand from all the stakeholders, not just the stakeholders who look after the welfare and who look after the well-being of the vulnerable population here, but from the beneficiaries themselves. So it was an enriching experience in sort of helping us make that draft, or in drafting those guidelines and advocacy material a better one than what we already have. For example, for drafting the Diversion Handbook for National Lamton, we met with the children who had come in conflict with the law, and we were told by them and also the competent authority who looks after the women and children here in Bhutan, NCWC, that it was the first time that these children who had come in conflict were brought together for the first time to listen to them and hear from them the gaps in our child justice system, the recommendations from them in improving the child justice system here in Bhutan. And likewise, we brought together the persons with disabilities themselves, the CSOs and NGOs looking after the persons with disability, to hear from them the challenges and issues from them rather than from the stakeholders who work for them. So that way, I think we were able to do a better job. We were able to do justice in drafting those guidelines and advocacy materials. I remember meeting this one boy who had come for the workshop we had organized a few days after the workshop, and he is now a salesman in one of the grocery stores in Thimphu. And when I met him, he was like, "Thank you, madam, for involving us I mean, for the first time, we are being heard. We've been, made a part of meetings, and because he is of the opinion that if this is not done, I mean, the child justice system that we have here in Bhutan cannot really work. We need to hear them. We need to listen to them and see what works and what doesn't. And basically, they want us to make them a part of it. And likewise, and when we were working for access to justice for persons with disability also, I mean, we've met with clients who have come forward and said, thank you to the Human Dignity Clinic in sort of helping them in giving them the access, the documents to access justice easily. And as Purba had mentioned earlier, the advocacy toolkit material that we developed for them contains the procedures that they need to follow if ever they come in conflict with the law or if ever they have an issue. The document tells them where to go, what to do, who to consult. And these documents, again, although it was mentioned as one of the challenges by Purba earlier, will be sort of translated into PWD friendly document. For example, for persons with blindness, it will be made into Braille system. We are planning to do with audio, sign language, and also translated into all the languages that we have here in Bhutan. So these were some things that I wanted to share with the audience here today. Thank you. Over
Thank
to
you
you.
so much. The potential is enormous, and 1 hour is obviously not enough, and we lost a bit of time in the beginning. So please allow me to close at this point so that we finish on time. But thank you so much for the panel members. And now I'd like to hand over to the Madam MC. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Aziza. Wow, what a fascinating discussion we've had today about human dignity and its role in Bhutan and beyond to make the world we share a better place. Many thanks to our welcoming host and special guest, Ms. Kubota, and to our participants, not just DEMA and our human dignity students, but also the clinic clients and our wonderful audience as well. In closing, I would like to reflect again on our theme of sustainability. It is so important that we at JSW Law continue programs such as our Human Dignity Clinic, which are designed not only to teach students, but to help the larger community as well. We hope that you will join our leaders in supporting the fund. Last year, 2 of our most dedicated supporters, Hugh Verrier, chair of the global law firm White & Case, and Eric Lemelson, president of Corona Foundation, announced that they would match gifts to the Sustainability Fund up to a total of $40,000 US. Today, I am pleased to tell you that we have reached the halfway point in this match. Please help us get further along in our effort. And please stay tuned for our next events. We are planning in June a webinar to focus on student life at JSW Law with special cultural performances organized by our wonderful students. This will also help us to celebrate the upcoming graduation of our very first class of law students. These are very exciting times for JSW Law. Thanks again to everyone for joining today, and please do stay in touch. Kadichela.